Interesting times ahead for African players after the 2022-2023 season in Europe, where the likes of Riyad Mahrez, the likes of Yashin Bonu, the likes of Enesiri, the likes of Victor Osimhen. These are some of the few players who turned out for Africa when it comes to the African nations, the African T players, of course, in Europe. And looking at this particular calendar, we know, of course, that with the names mentioned, including Andre Onana of Cameroon, we will have an interesting time ahead when the CAF, Confederation of African Football, talking about CAF, would shortlist which player would be nominated for the CAF Footballer of the Year. Lots of interesting times, lots of interesting players, of course, are shown interesting stuff in their own club and, of course, country. We're not forgetting what Morocco did at the World Cup in Qatar. And now to discuss and talk about the chances, individual records at stake for CAF final shortlist. Joining us is Jamir Teke Undumbe, all the way from Cameroon. He will be telling us and talking about what has happened so far and how it has been when it comes to the world of African players. Don't forget, Victor Osimhen is in the news and he's one of the favorites in terms of what people are saying. But of course, I know our guest this morning will be having a different thought.
Yeah, good morning to Mr. Medjueto, and good morning to the televiewers of your media.
All right, good to join us. How are you doing? How is Cameroon?
No, Cameroon is good.
All right, let's go straight to business. We've had interesting times for African players at the just concluded season. Mentioned some players: Yashin Bonu, Victor Osimhen, Andre Onana of Cameroon. We also had Enesiri, Achraf Hakimi. These are some of the players that made their mark at the just concluded season. Looking at what has happened so far with the CAF Player of the Year in line in the next few months, how difficult it is for CAF to decide who would make the final shortlist.
Well, it's going to be actually difficult for the Confederation of African Football to get the African Player of the Year for 2023. You know that the players have actually shown a good account of themselves. I think Victor Osimhen this year was so exceptional. Same with last football season, he has been consistent for these past two seasons. And this season was just, he set the high as far as African football is concerned out there in Europe, scoring 26 goals in some 32 league matches for Napoli, winning the Scudetto out there with Napoli after 33 years. It tells you of a player who actually is a hot property out there in Europe. And so he stands a chance to win this award. But you can't right away Andre Onana. Yeah, Andre Onana also won the Italian Cup with Inter of Milan. And then he made 8 saves in the Italian Serie A out of 24 matches. Remember that he came to the Italian side as a second choice goalkeeper. He only maneuvered himself into the first choice at the start of the championship. So he also created a record in Europe, making the most saves by a goalkeeper.
Okay.
That is 48 saves, and then he also made 8 clean sheets when he got the Champions League. So those are the.
All right, Ndube.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. I did like to also ask, I mean, we know that when it comes to the CAF Player of the Year, it has to do with voting. Yes, voting is one of the medium or means to get who would be the CAF Player of the Year. But I did like to ask you, what yardstick do you think should be used? Should it be the World Cup? Should it be the league? What yardstick do you think should be used, to ascertain who would be the CAF Player of the Year?
Yeah, in the years, we always find the World Cup year actually being the advantage to any player who wins it in that particular year. But actually, the World Cup doesn't really play nowadays in some awards. We've seen awards where on World Cup years where players win the award without actually performing in the World Cup. I can take a case with the case of it happened with is it Yaya Toure? He never actually played excellently in the 2014 World Cup, but he was given the World Cup.
Okay.
The African Player of the Year The same with in 2010, Samuel Eto'o did not actually perform, took Cameroon to higher heights in 2010 when he.
Oh.
Yeah, so it is all about having the individual awards, the goal scoring, yes, also play because even World Cup, yes, is one of the factors or one of the indicators to measure the player's performance in a particular calendar year. But I think this year, Victor Osimhen have proven beyond all reasonable doubt, together with Andre Onana. Though Andre Onana played the World Cup, but we know he didn't air well for him during the World Cup after he was expelled from the Lions Den by the coach. So it was difficult for him. But I think Victor Osimhen at this point in time stands a better chance to actually win the award.
All right.
Now, you look at Mahrez, he won a treble with Manchester City, but that could also play to the cards of those who are going to vote for the CAF Player of the Year, looking at Mahrez's achievements at Manchester City.
All right,
yes, he played close to...
We wish you can go on and on. But of course, the time, interesting one, because we had lots of interesting African players who, of course, did well in their respective clubs in Europe. But we would like to just want to thank you and appreciate you for your time. I mean, we would love to have you again to talk more about the African players in Europe.